So first and foremost, what's in the mug?
Coffee, as
And,
usual.
yes, and
Breakfast blend.
what is the mug, sir?
The mug. I solemnly swear I am up to no good. Harry Potter.
Absolutely
It's a
perfect,
classic.
as it should be. And my follow-up question to all of that, sir, is how is the car?
It's we're still dealing with it. It's a cosmic joke at this point.
I'm right there with you.
Get a car worked on, get it back. Same
Mhm.
problem. Send it
Yes,
back.
yes. I can relate with the beast, the past incarnation in the driveway, a 1997 Toyota Camry that finished up with 368,000 miles on it.
Ooh.
It got to that point to where you were trying to sit there and just kind of maintain your way through it. It's like, okay, I know it's going to the mechanic. And then you're trying to sit there and you're thinking of profit and loss. It's like, okay, is my level of investment in the old car worth it to keep the old car plus the sentimental value that's attached? Or am I really looking at my apps and I'm trying to sit here and say, well, let's see, if I go to this website, I can buy this and maybe not afford this. And yeah.
Yep.
When do we get to the point of diminished returns?
I've done so much math in the past like 72 hours with this stupid car and the other cars that we have. I'm ready. I'm genuinely ready to sell every vehicle I own and just buy a horse. I'll probably
Oh,
get anywhere quicker in Atlanta anyway because I can just bypass all the traffic.
true.
And yeah, it's just it's ridiculous. It's still there. I'm waiting to go pick it up again.
Uh, oh man.
If anybody
So,
knows a great mechanic in the Atlanta area, please let me know.
well, I have a great mechanic, but it is, and I can is your car foreign or domestic, sir?
It is domestic. It is a
Okay, so
Dodge.
that is the first problem because he is a Japanese motorsports aficionado. So my buddy Dale, who does tremendous work for the Beast and Buddies and things like that, yes, he is a foreign car aficionado, and he knows what he's up to in all of that stuff. All right, so we got a couple of different topics that we can get into this morning when it comes to what we want to lead off. So
what do you guys want to talk about?
all right, so what do you want to lead off with?
I mean, do you want to dive into the rule changes?
Oh,
Go ahead and
sure. Yeah, we'll
get
get
that out of the way.
we'll get into the rule changes, and this came out this morning for those of you who have not had the chance to delve into the Athletic, and it was a piece, and we have, I'm sure you guys have. You're sitting there going, things need to change when it comes to the rules of engagement in Major League Soccer. And there's frustration with Atlanta United fans. There's frustration with, I think any fan that has an owner that is willing to spend. And you are stuck with these roadblocks of, well, you only have 3 DPs. You only have a salary structure that is low 7 figures. Yes, it was raised 8% to the level of this year, but you're still talking somewhere in the neighborhood of just under $4 million for your cap. Then you're looking at, okay, how do we handle the roster movement up and down? Kind of wish it would be like the NBA, where if you've got an injury or you've got a tournament perhaps that you might want to win a trophy in, you want to bring guys up and down fairly freely, but you can't quite do that right yet. So Paul Tenorio, for those of you who have the subscription to said Athletic, voted on several rule changes. Major League Soccer, they had their Board of Governors meeting out in Los Angeles, expected to be implemented for the upcoming summer transfer window. And you get the multiple sources briefing Paul, telling him this. So 3 major changes to the rules: an alteration to the DP and U22 initiative spending and roster construction, an increase in the number of contract buyouts, and increasing benefits of player sales. Obviously, this is just stuff that they're suggesting, and you've got to get the approval of the PA before you can do anything like this. And Jarrett Smith will be hopping in now to help us break stuff down as well. So you're looking at, once approved, alterations add layers of funding to general team spending. You're looking at DP and U22 initiative changes. So now, here are the options. Currently, you've got 3 senior DPs, but you can only have 1 U22. Teams with 2 senior DPs and 1 young DP, and this is where math is involved, and this is where our head hurts.
Yep.
2 senior DPs and 1 young DP, or a DP that can be bought down with TAM, you can have up to 3 U22s. New rules, and we'll take them one at a time. Teams can have either 3 DPs and 3 U22s, or they can have 2 DPs, 4 U22s, and $2 million in GAM. And so the idea is that you could have greater flexibility in building your squad. So you can go max 3 DPs and 3 U22s, or go one less DP, have one more U22, still adding up to the number 6, and $2 million in Garber bucks. What say you, Tyler Pilgrim?
It's a step in the right direction. I mean, I think of teams that go after the latter option, the 2 DPs and the 4 U22s, and I'm like, you got to have some cojones to pull that off, because you never know what you're getting with some of these U22s. And granted, I mean, it's a low risk and potentially high reward, but if you can get 4 Edwin Mosqueras, then you're doing okay. But
you're bringing a Tiago Almada at the age of 19.
Well, that too, 100%. I'll take that all day. But I mean, yeah, it's a step in the right direction. The 3 DPs, 3 U22s, to me, that just makes sense. If you're going to do anything short of just like taking the ropes off completely, make it so that you don't have to do as much math trying to figure out who you're going to be bringing on. 3 DPs, 3 U22s, keep it simple. Then you have the option to really, really go and hit on your DPs, because we all know in this league, those are the guys that are going to make the biggest difference, or should make the biggest difference. But you don't want to stifle like the ability to bring in young talent. And then potentially I go back to Edwin Mosquera. I mean, who knows how he plays out over the 4 years that he's here, but he's doing okay so far. And for that not to really hit your cap in a significant way, and then you can develop that talent, and who knows, if he likes it at that club, at this club, whatever, then you keep him and he becomes an integral part of the club. But it gives you a little bit of options, and I like options.
So, Jarrett, 3 plus 3 or 2 plus 4 and $2 million in Garber bucks. What do you think?
I think we're still overcomplicating things to a ridiculous degree. It is a step in the right direction. I agree completely. It's a step towards expanding out spending and giving you flexibility and options. And I agree with Tyler. Like, it's ballsy if you can go that route with the U22s, mostly because, as we remind people a lot, this isn't FIFA. Real life isn't FIFA.
What?
Dang it.
I mean, in the game, it's great. Yeah, you can hey, man, I built my academy out. I got a bunch of dudes who are 21 years old. All of them rated over at 80 and wanted by everybody in the world. We're just winning Champions League, and we're all 22, 23 years old. None of us can rent a car. It doesn't work that way in the real world. You have to have a roster balance of having guys who kind of have that hashtag veteran presence. And yeah, it's risky in those moments. But yeah, to his point, if you can pull it off, you can make some hay. It's just gonna be tricky to do it. But I'm glad you're expanding things. I hope they don't move in the direction of we're gonna expand spending. Okay, here's 5 new rules. These 5 new rules each trigger 10 new rules, unless of course the moon is in a waning gibbous, in which case there are 8 new rules.
You ain't kidding. Absolutely. Alex beats you to it with Mars being in retrograde as a part of this whole thing. But yeah,
I cannot wait to see how teams try and cheat this. It's going to be amazing. And don't think your team won't try. None of you are above it. Don't pretend you are.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying. And if you're not trying, then you're not, quoting the great Jim Rome, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. And it's only cheating if you get caught. Notably, teams with 2 DPs will get just $1 million in extra Garber bucks this season, because the rules would be implemented halfway through the season. 4 of the 29 teams are using all 3 DP spots in a way that previously allowed just for 1 U22. And this might be what Gary Smith might be looking for in the summer window. Nashville, the Revs, Orlando, and FC Cincinnati right now are in the 3+1 category, the 3 full DPs, the 1 U22. They would be able to sign more U22s once the new rule is implemented. So this might be I could see Gary Smith outside the hotel in Los Angeles and go, sign this now, sign this. And he's got signs on he's got big signs anything.
He can ask for whatever changes in structure he wants. Nashville actually has to go and sign the players that fit what they do and actually play them. Because I remind you, besides Sean Davis from Red Bulls, which was a damn good get, he is currently collecting dust on the bench between Lord of our Sun, Todd Brian Anunga, Charleston Battery legend.
Yes.
So he actually has to play those guys.
Oh, we can't have that, Jarrett. We can't have that kind of logic here. That's just not allowed.
It's too much thinking. It's like math.
Yeah.
Well, they got to figure out that they don't even have a backup plan right now.
No.
Because guess what? Their team's manager's gone.
Yes, that is true. Jack Collison. We still don't know the whole 411 on that from yesterday, but that was a bombshell that dropped during the show.
Joe, I love Todd Brian Anunga. Todd Brian Anunga is just I love him for what he is, but him consistently starting over Sean Davis is amazing to me because of Davis's just freakish abilities athletically on the ball. I'm blown away by that decision, but Todd Brian Anunga right up there for me with Charleston Battery legends, Forrest Lasso, Leland Archer as well. The good old days.
Yes, absolutely.
Before the good nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah. For what it's worth, if you want to play like the styles make fights thing about how Nashville plays, the assistant who's taken over for the Huntsville team,
Our next pros, yeah.
Yeah. His last stop was as a first-team coach at Livingston. Which, if you don't know, Livingston is a club in Scotland. They have by far the smallest budget in the Scottish First Division.
Mm-hmm.
Their manager, before he took the job, did an extended stint in prison.
Correct.
For fraud and for racketeering, if I'm not mistaken. He got involved in organized crime to a degree. Got out, got himself cleaned up, got his life turned around, and started working there part time as I think part of the grounds crew, and then got his licenses and became the first team and worked his way up to becoming the first team manager. It's very much stylistically similar to what Gary does. So I would assume they'll be doing some of that.
With less money.
Yeah, honestly, might be comparable.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, might be comparable when you factor in the kids coming down from Nashville. Man, Livy's going to get relegated this year in Scotland, and the fact that it took them this long to get relegated, it's going to be years to get relegated, is an absolute triumph of brilliant stupidity by David Martindale to keep them above water. But stylistically, interim, more in that Gary Smith mold. We do wish Jack the best wherever he's going. Jack's a very fun human being. He is also an insane manager who operates with the idea of if I can't win if I don't score a lot of goals, so I'm going to go try and score a lot of goals, and you love to see it.
And be Johnny Cash in 90-degree weather and matching humidity in the middle of the summer up in Kennesaw. He's dressed from black from head to toe.
Yeah, where's Lasso's dead?
Yeah, he looks like he belongs in John Wick.
Yeah, well,
yeah, he does.
Yeah, and so Rich, it happened this time yesterday. It happened during the show yesterday when the announcement was made during hour number 2. So Jarrett, is Livy the one that plays at the Spaghetti Hod? Is that the one? Is that the team that plays at Tony Macaroni Stadium?
Yes.
And they call it the
Scotland.
Yeah.
Tony Macaroni is basically the Scottish version of Olive Garden, for lack of a better comparison.
Yep.
Tony Macaroni is a chain of Italian restaurants. The Livingston plays at the Tony Macaroni Arena, except it's about to change the name. I think the sponsorship deal is running out, which is a damn shame, because for the longest time, we have referred to the Tony Macaroni Arena, and we, meaning the royal we, not just me, but Scottish soccer Twitter, it is the Spaghetti Hut.
Yes. Fantastic.
And it is just this tiny-ass stadium with, field turf that looks like you ripped it out of central Costa Rica.
Yeah, so Herediano's turf made it to the Spaghetti Hut for Livingston, and
everyone complains about the field
you're
turf
playing in something the size of 12 Oaks, basically, is what you're saying. Is that you're playing at 12
Oaks?
The
field size is fine. The turf is not great.
Still better than a baseball field.
It is still better than a baseball field. You are not incorrect, sir.
Yes. So Alex, with a question to the floor, what's going to be the carrot to get the MLSPA to approve either 3+3 or 2+4 with $2 million in Garber bucks in the U22s? DPs and the U22s don't help there. So what's the hook? What is going to be the enticement for the vets as a part of this?
The love of the game.
Of course.
It's that simple.
I'm sorry. I forgot about that. But I think, and this is just me extrapolating here, that you're probably going to end up with that cap number expanding. So that way players can, make more and you get more allowances for the veterans that are already there. So DPs can, make more. Everybody else can make more. So maybe you expand the cap or something like that.
I think, ultimately, like, if you're the PA, I think you already understand that this is going to be like a very, very, very slow process in terms of just taking baby steps.
Yeah.
And when something like this comes along, I don't think you have a choice but to go with it, unless there's like something in the fine print that is not good. But I don't see that happening. So
yeah.
I think they just have to go for it and say, all right, cool. It's the right direction for now.
Yeah. So point number 2, Jarrett, we go from 1 buyout per season to 2. So you could have 2 contract buyouts. Comes after a previous change, which the league allowed the club to buy out a player during the season. Previously, the buyout had to occur during the off season. So now you're trying to figure out, as we get ready for seasons, it's like, okay, who gets the 1 buyout? What team uses the get out of jail free card and just jettisons a player? Right now, it looks like it would be going from 1 to 2 if you end up really spending money on a boatload of if you spend a boatload of money on a dude and it ends up being a complete and total crash out, you can now go from 1 to 2 in that manner. So you're ending up with more discretionary spending. You have that option of taking the hit of, it's like, okay, I might have screwed it up, but I've got this window. I've got this get out of jail free card kind of a thing. So we might be going from 1 buyout to 2, Jarrett.
I like it. It gives the teams, I think, more incentive to take a risk. If you've got more opportunity to get out from under deals, I think it gives you more incentive to go out there and take a big swing. Because, look, we can take 2 big swings this year. If they don't work, we buy them out. We don't have to sit under this Bobby Bonilla-shaped log for multiple years. So go be risky. Go get, to Taka's point, go get somebody on loan from England or Spain who might just need minutes. Go get your Ricky Puiges of the world.
Yes.
Go take a swing at that young player who's really exciting but might be really raw, and you want to figure out if he can be that guy or not, because you can buy him out. And I would hope that also benefits the players. Because let's say, you're in a situation where you do a Derek Etienne Jr. kind of move and you say, hey, man, this isn't working out. You're falling behind in the depth chart. We're not going to be able to guarantee you minutes. If you want to take a buyout, you can get paid and go somewhere else, sign a new contract, and get a fresh start. And that way, everybody walks away. You walk away with your pockets a little bit heavier. We walk away with a new spot. I'm great with giving them another buyout option. If for no other reason, I hope teams become more aggressive with it and a little more risk taking. It's okay when it's okay. It's not a tragedy to fail when you're taking a big swing that if it works out, you could make waves, picking up a trophy, making finals, that kind of stuff. Take those swings, and if you've got an extra net underneath you, start doing some Cirque du Soleil flying.
And Tyler, you don't have to be Messi and friends pre-Messi and sit there and sign 5 DPs and say that you're only paying 3.
Right.
Even as Santi Sosa body checked Blaise Matuidi into retirement, and so I don't know if that really counted as having a DP there. But yeah, you give that opportunity, you give that option anyway for a team to sit there and go, okay, yeah, we will take this risk, where they might not have done so before.
Yeah, and actually, out of the main changes that were mentioned in the article, like, to me, this is the one I actually like the most, believe it or not. I mean, the 3 DPs, 3 U22s, like, that's great. That needed to happen. But for all the reasons that y'all have already said, having that extra little bit of freedom to just say, you know what, this is not going to work out at all. Like, for everybody's benefit, we're going to go ahead and cut bait now, and you go your way, we go ours, and it wasn't meant to be, and that's totally fine. But right now, your hands are tied in a lot of ways, because the one buyout, you have to be so strategical with it. Like, so much goes into that decision. Whereas this one, you've at least got a little bit of leeway. And yeah, I mean, you go out and you make that signing that everybody says, like, at least on paper, it makes sense. And then they get here and it doesn't make sense anymore. Then you just go and you go through with it, and you still got one left over just in case. So yeah, I think it opens up a lot of possibilities. And like Jarrett said, it's the risk taking that I think you'll see. Even the teams that don't necessarily want to spend as much money, I think this will maybe help them a little bit, maybe push them towards, all right, we're gonna go after somebody a little bigger than we normally would.
So when does Minnesota use theirs on Reynoso?
I was just about to ask that. I was like, man, this is perfect timing.
Well, and for those that do not know that particular dig, there is a reason that he has been referred to in the last year or so as Reynoso. And so Emmanuel Reynoso did not attend a green card meeting. And this is from Andy Greeter, and this was yesterday. So apparently he did not attend a green card meeting and gets to stay in Argentina. So right now, it is the best player for Minnesota United, unless, of course, maybe if you were to ask Teemu Pukki about something like that.
Yeah.
That it appears that Emmanuel Reynoso did not attend a green card meeting and stayed in Argentina. So, green card interviews apparently were lined up, according to Charlie Boehm, by the Loons last year and this year, meaning the calendar years of 23 and 24. And Reynoso decided not to show up on both occasions. So right now, the best player for Minnesota United, he ain't there. And he is home in Argentina. And after all of this, and Andy Greeter actually refers to this as Reynoso Volume 3. So you are without Reynoso. My guess is, as we kind of sit there and, yes, exactly, Alex. Fool me 4 times, shame on me. Minnesota United. Absolutely correct. I'm guessing that if this passes, if these 3 ideas pass, and we'll get to item number 3 coming up in just a little bit, and has to do with more that this might actually be one of those times where you sit there and you take that hit. If you get that second add-on, you sit there and it's like, all right, bro, we're done with you. And that could be it. But Tofka, our resident lawyer in person, says that it really should be a full breach of contract to cancel the contract. And that way you don't get affected by something like this. But, Tyler, this might be, until you come up with the idea through the legal channels, this might be what Minnesota United could need right now when it comes to their roster.
Yeah. But I do agree. I mean, I think like there's got to be something in there that says like you kind of have to, go to meetings to be in the country to play soccer for our club.
We'd kind of like you to be a part of the roster, but you kind of need to help us out here. So apparently, Khalid El Ahmad, the chief soccer officer for the Loons, yesterday said, quote, Emmanuel Reynoso did not attend his recent green card appointment, and he remains in Argentina. We do not have an updated timeline for his return and have no additional comment at this time. Our entire focus is on the players and staff who are here, end quote.
Passive-aggressive dad energy.
I was just that last little bit.
We're focusing on the players that are here. And
it's like it is the same energy as, I'm sorry, we're just trying to take a family photo at Disney World. I didn't realize I was asking too much of you.
I mean, it's true. Yeah. It's, you end up with a situation like this. Yes, this would give Minnesota United an out, but I do think that, as Dell says, it falls under the character clause. Do you really want a player like this, no matter how good they are? And I think that you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. You want a player like Reynoso. You need a player like him. You've seen what he can have for you when he seems to be motivated to be in the country and play Major League Soccer. But right now, it looks like he just wants to stay at home. My guess is if he can get a gig in the Argentine League once his time with Minnesota United is done, I think he'd be happy. But I think he just wants to be someplace else, any place else, other than the land of 10,000 lakes where the state bird is the mosquito. That's the joke inside the state. It really isn't, but, because of all the lakes, if you're there in the summer, you better take off with you, and I'm not kidding.
They share it with Louisiana.
That is true.
Different variety.
What if he just pulls a Darwin Quintero and just goes to Houston? It just does the Minnesota to Houston Express, and you give Houston another playmaker, and then Benny Ball just takes over the world.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm gonna go hang out with Ache. No, I'm done. It's like, I don't want to play in Minnesota anymore. Okay, we're ripping up your contract. Ben Olson, line one. Mr. Olson, you got a phone call on line one. Who is it? Someone named Reynoso on line one. He picks up the phone. He's like, yo, dude. Something like that. So
and Reynoso's like, it was just too cold for me up there. They wouldn't listen to me.
It's like, I can't function in these conditions. I can't
it's
do
too
it.
Cold, and when it's not cold, I watched a child get carried away by a mosquito like it was Jurassic Park 3.
Yes, and it was at Allianz, as a matter of fact. Point number 3 for these alleged rule changes: more GAM for transfers. Under current rules, teams can convert up to just under $1.25 million of any transfer or loan revenue into GAM. Under new rules, the teams will be able to convert up to $3 million a year in transfer or loan revenue into said GAM. Benefits to teams that may sell only one player a year. This is the analysis from Tenorio et al. At The Athletic. The example they give is when Chicago sold Gaga Slonina to Chelsea, they only got 1.2. Meanwhile, a team that sold 2 players for a total of, say, $4 million gets 2.4 in GAM. So what it does is I guess it brings everything back to the mean. Under the new rule, teams that sell players will have the same maximum amount of GAM that they can reach per year across all sales, solving a specific problem, ensuring teams get rewarded for how much revenue they bring in rather than the number of transfers. So say, we'll go back to the Miguel Almiron example because we don't want to deal with present players because that hasn't happened. We'll use Miggy as an example. So if Atlanta sells Miguel Almiron for the $27 million plus add-ons and what have you, they would be getting that maximum of 3 as opposed to 1.2, which would help them out being able to buy down players from DP to high TAM. It could help you out in that kind of a situation, even though Atlanta United is a bit more of a mover and a shaker, Tyler, than that. But you get that big marquee deal. You get to max out with it instead of just sitting there and walking away going, I only get 1.2 out of this. What's going on here, man?
Yeah. 27 million, and I only get to do anything with that little bit. I think this is the one where it kind of brings you back to earth a little bit with MLS roster rules, because you're like, oh, well, those first 2 sounded cool, kind of. And then you get to the third one and it's like, but we still have to deal with monopoly money.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, again, step in the right direction, but like it's going to benefit, I think, the teams overall that just, like you said, they don't make moves a ton. They're not doing things a lot. Like you've got a team like Atlanta United that I feel like the GAM in general is just going to keep you from doing what you want to do from a roster perspective, because it locks you down. And so, cool. It's a step in the right direction. I'm not a big fan of GAM, not a big fan of monopoly money, but it does open up a little bit. I think more so if you're like a Salt Lake or somebody, but yeah, step in the right direction, but not my favorite of the 3.
Well, yeah. And I think the larger point that we should make here, and I think that once again, it's something that we have discussed a lot, is that you can't just have a cap at 3.8. You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, with the way the league is growing now, with the attractiveness that is attached to players, and I mean, I could think of one group of owners in South Florida who look at that 3.8 and they're sitting there going, man, we got to boost that. And anybody that wants to bring in these high-profile players, wants to pay them whatever, wants to bring in the metric crap ton of high-profile players and try to pay them something other than, say, $100,000 and, here's some Canadian Tire bucks and here's a Dunkin' Donuts coupon. Oh, yeah, that's great, Luis Suarez. Oh, Dunkin' Donuts. I love Dunkin' Donuts. That's going to – no. It's got to be a larger cap figure. And like I said, it was raised 8% to, I think, 3.8 this year, but still. You're at 3.8, and you've got folks that want to invest. As we've gone through these three, apparent, soon to be brought in rules that were discussed and approved at the BOG meeting. Not approved, but approved on one side of the equation. But you've got to have more money to invest, to bring in more players if you want to sit there and continue to invest and have the players in your academy and your second team rewarded for the time that they've spent. You want to keep them. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You kind of have these other things that you can play with here too, Tyler. But the third one, it's a step in the right direction, but I think you've got to look at the cap number too.
Yeah, and then just to piggyback on that real quick, I mean, you go back to the Miggy example, and as an Atlanta fan, you're kind of in maybe a unique position. I mean, Miami's in the same boat, LAFC's in the same boat. The big spenders are kind of in the same boat where it's like, cool, we make this move in Miggy's case, what, 27 million or whatever.
Yeah.
And then as an Atlanta fan, you don't have to worry about the whole like business football manager kind of side of things because Arthur Blank has money. He's going to throw money. It's a luxury that we're lucky to have. So it's not like he has to be sold for 27 million or whatever, because ultimately, like, it doesn't really free up your actual hands to do much of anything like it does in other countries. Like if you are, I don't know, Sunderland, and you get relegated twice and now you're under different rules and you have to really make a business out of it. Cool. That's where, selling somebody for 27 million becomes a big thing. But here in MLS, it's like, cool. I mean, we have bragging rights. That's great. But we're still tied down by this freaking game thing. And that part, I think, sucks. And really, there's nothing that you can do about it until they either open it up way more or they just get rid of it entirely. But that's not going to happen anytime soon.
The frickin' GAM thing sucks, Jarrett, according to Tyler. I think that's a direct quote.
TLDR.
To simplify down, and I don't disagree. It's annoying and it's overcomplicating things. You decided to overcomplicate things back in the Beckham days, and instead of undoing it, you've just kind of made things more complicated. So some of this is a step in the right direction. Some of it is a step in the we're going to complicate and twist things a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it to the point though. I mean, you can get the incentives of developing your talent and selling it, but not reaping the full rewards is kind of always going to be annoying. Now, look, there's always going to be benefits to developing, winning with, and then selling talented young players. You're going to get more people into the academy. You're going to get higher profile people coming in. There's glory to be had with it all. There's excitement that kids grow up and build that association with the organization. But you still want to reap the full financial benefits from what you've done instead of basically having Don Garber's conversion kiosk at the airport when you get to a new country and you having to change out your currency for nickels on the dime.
Yeah. So, I mean, the league continues to take steps in the right direction. And apparently this Board of Governors meeting also had a visit from Gianni Infantino. Like, for the first time ever, you get a FIFA president coming to an MLS meeting. So I found that to be somewhat intriguing. Don Garber says, thinks it speaks to or underscores the importance of the North American soccer market. FIFA's embracing the opportunity here to grow the game. It's exciting, if I could get my upper plate to work. It's exciting to see the enthusiasm that exists both the FIFA level, the CONCACAF level, with where we are today. But FIFA did not make a formal presentation about how to grow said game, but rather took a more conversational approach to discussing the growth of the game in the U.S. and of the league itself. So apparently he just wandered up to the dais. He said what was on his mind, where the sport was, views about MLS, fan level, investment, commitment, infrastructure, all this kind of stuff. And so he just kind of stood up there and they had a conversation about everything. So Johnny Infantino and Don Garber got to hang out in Los Angeles too, Tyler.
Yeah. I wish I could have just sat there and listened to the conversation and just heard what it was about. I don't know where these two, thought processes combine in a good way right now, because I mean, I think the big thing from this Board of Governors meeting is obviously the rule changes. That's going to be the big news coming out.
Yes.
But the sitting president of FIFA showing up, like what were you trying to accomplish? Like you didn't just show up just to say, hey man, it's cool, World Cup's going to be here in a couple of years, like woohoo, like cheerleader. There was a reason he was there, and I just want to know what it is.
Well, I mean, this is almost like, could it have been first date behavior where, you'll go wandering in and, hi, here's Johnny. He's never been here before. So everybody say hi. Hi, Johnny. One of those kinds of things.
Does he have to get up and tell us what he did over his summer vacation too?
Yes, absolutely.
This sounds more like an AA meeting than it does first date.
Hi,
to Tom's question, I don't know where they went for dinner afterward. I hope it was just like In-N-Out.
Yes, that would be perfect.
Yes.
Johnny Infantino just staring in absolute horror as someone hands him a basket of animal-style fries.
Oh, that would be, and he's
dripping.
there. He's there in his blue blazer and the white pressed button-down shirt and the khaki pants. And Don Garber goes, "Man, you'll love this. Trust me."
He hasn't had that much sodium in 5 years.
No doubt. And he's probably sitting there going, why can I not tie this tie first thing in the morning because of everything that was there? Tyler, when it came to this past weekend, Atlanta United gets a point. Brad Guzan with the pass of the century to Edwin Mosqueda. And, the Edwin Mosqueda vibe here in the segment this morning. And Jamal Tiare. And when you go back and you look at the replay, Jamal was struggling and pushing through the injury that we found out that he had to get there to make the header for the game-tying goal. So Jamal out, Derek Williams out.
Yeah, freaking baseball fields. I don't know. Here's the thing. It wasn't a bad game. It was a game that I still contend Atlanta should have won.
Chaos.
It was chaos.
There was no middle third. It was tennis.
It was literally that.
You were over at the Arthur Ashe Tennis Center and you just transplanted it into Citi Field. That's what you had. It was the U.S. Open in this location. That was what you had.
And then all the midfielders are like 10 minutes in, just being like, okay, well, the ball's just going over my head, so I guess I'm going to have to pick a side and figure out where I'm going to go to get on the ball.
It's just like this.
Yeah. So
Kramer is a ball boy. All the midfielders in this match, they're just like this,
it does still to me feel like a lost opportunity. And I see what Kevsey's saying in the chat. It was a crap PK call. I disagree that it was a PK. Just like I disagree with one.
But if you're going to make that PK call, I mean, at least, you can make the argument for it, whether or not you believe what was called, I guess is the best way to phrase it. You can sit there and say, yes, there was contact. Yes, it was inside the 18. It might have been a crap PK call, but you can say, if you detach, you can look at it either way. You can sit there and say, yes, if you're Kefsey or Tyler, yes, it's a crap PK call. If you go to the other side, you can sit there and justify the call by saying, okay, I see this, and this, and I get it. I understand it. And so that's part of what we like to discuss here. Is there a rationale for calling it, even though we may disagree with said call?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then my only other addition to that argument is if that was a PK call, then there should be at least one PK call in every single match played worldwide, because this is a contact sport, and the amount of contact that was in that call was so minimal. And and then I go back last night and I'm looking at we all watched the She Believes Cup final, and that penalty, that was not a penalty. It was not a penalty. But again, yeah, if you go by that line of thinking, like, okay, I mean, right day, right, yeah, where Mars is at, where the moon's at, everything, in place. Okay, I mean, by definition, you could call it a penalty, but there's just, it's the consistency thing. And I know I've had that conversation on here, on our show, everywhere. Like, I just want consistency. And I know it's hard to get consistency between like different refs,
right?
But just give me the same thing in one match and I'll be happy. So, it's frustrating. And I know there's so many factors. I know that there's, where's the ref? Where, what is his position? You go back in that same match though, and you look at where Brooks Lennon came together with, I don't know if it was Santi Rodriguez or whoever, and they were shouting for a penalty. And I thought there was more. I still didn't think it was, but I thought there was more to that one than there was in the first one.
Yeah.
And so it's the consistency. It'll always go back to consistency. But I just think, if you call that penalty in that New York City match, then you probably should have called like 3 or 4 others for both teams because it was just such minimal contact.
And you probably would have been best friends with Bukayo Saka yesterday after what happened.
Yeah.
With that collision with him and Neuer.
Yeah. As an Arsenal fan and also as a Munich fan, this game yesterday was really, I was struggling a lot. I was struggling because
yay boo.
Yeah, because I really love both teams. Arsenal is my team after Atlanta, of course.
Oh, wow.
It's not a penalty. I mean, you saw his leg. He went looking for the contact. To be fair, it wasn't a bad try. I get where he was going with it, and it was more of I think it was more of a penalty than the one in the Atlanta United game. But
yeah, well, and Alex with MLS, he says, we fixed VAR last year, full speed replay only. If you don't spot a clear and obvious error at full speed, then you don't signal down. And that's one of the things for me when it comes to VAR is that the longer you are under the hood, the longer that you're looking at it, you're staring at the monitor, I think you're looking for something as opposed to trying to confirm one way or the other. I think that if you're looking at a monitor and you're talking 2.5 minutes, it's like, I think you're looking for something to either justify or reverse. I don't think you're looking for confirmation at that point. And I think that that's one of the things that gets to me when it comes to using VAR. And, there are times where they sit there and they'll look at it like the Zapruder film and they'll go, okay, down and to the right. You're looking for the magic loogie. It's like down and to the right. Okay, so I see it here. And then, but then you take all the context away if you're looking at it frame by frame. So there are still issues in the analysis and those who make the analyzing for all of these things that we're still trying to push through in the human element of VAR.
Yeah. And then, of course, you got to go back to the argument, too, of like, I understand, especially in America, you look at the clear and obvious thing, right? Because of like NFL.
Yeah.
But I think what I wish I could see out of refs in general is, I mean, the head ref by the laws of the game is the only one that can make the decision. I like that we've seen more that just in the short time they've been back this season of the head ref actually going to the monitor, because there's times I will always go back to the Brooks Lennon, what should have been a penalty in Miami a couple of years ago.
But he's a diver.
Yeah.
He's a diver.
Yeah. Like what? But Jair Marufo doesn't even go to the monitor, and that irritates me. But all right, so that didn't happen. They did go to the monitor in this one. And then you put up a graphic that says something about checking for a possible red card. I did not get that at all. We were in the bar doing the live show, and I didn't hear everything being talked about. And I was like, why are they looking at this for a red? That's barely a touch. What are we whining about here?
Well, I also think that that's also a supposition by the production crew at that point, unless they hear the conversation and they channels through. Yes, we're looking for a red. If you hear the VAR channel and that's what they're saying, that's what you're putting up there. But
yeah, that's true. And then, you look at the head ref actually going to the monitor and then goes to actually take a gander at what happened. Mm-hmm. I just wish, and this is where the announcing it in stadium thing would be so much better, because I just want to hear something. I want to hear a reason, not after 3 days later on Twitter.
Our bad.
Yeah, if not our bad, like give me an actual reason why you felt like that was strong enough to warrant a penalty when 2 minutes ago somebody got absolutely waylaid, but because it was just outside the box, like it's not the same thing. That's where I just want to hear something, not the generic.
No generics allowed. What's the next for Scarves and Spikes?
So we had our live show this past weekend, but we've got our show tonight over on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, everywhere else. Scarves,
Yes.
the letter N, Spikes on Twitter. And yeah, we'll be back at the driver's license derby this weekend.
You ain't kidding, brother. And we'll see who's plastic and who ain't, right?
Yeah. I'm excited.
As always, Tyler, it's great to have you on Wall Pass Wednesdays to go through things. The fact that we had some breaking news to kind of get into, or developing story, since it's not officially news, but it's stuff that's been half agreed to. Well, we agreed to it. Now it's your turn. That kind of stuff. Thanks for hanging out with us at ATL Pilgrim, at Scarves and Spikes. Tyler, we will catch up with you. We'll see you Sunday. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend.
All right. Thank you.